Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and we are joined by David versus Goliath star Davie Rickenbacker, who is
Star.
There you go. Hey, you were the star. You were the star of the finale, as far as I'm concerned. And you got up there, and Jeff was giving you the pat on the back and everything.
Oh yeah.
Thanks so much, Phil. I do want to say one thing. You pronounced my last name incorrectly. It is actually Rickenbacker. Rickenbacker.
I would have gotten that wrong too. We're off to a rocky start today.
It's okay. If you read my cast pregame, my biggest pet peeve is getting my name wrong. So I just wanted to make sure we got that right.
Well, and
good.
I'll tell you this, Davie. Every time before we go live, I ask everybody how to pronounce their last name, and I didn't ask you how to pronounce your last name. So this is what I get. I deserve it.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, because I think when Bradley came on, I still don't know how to say his last name. He has to say it immediately before I go. So,
oh wow.
Well, Davie Rickenbacker. We are joined by. I called you a star though, so that has to make up for it.
That's right.
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. But the man who took down the mayor of Slamtown, and we're excited to talk to you. I mean, you're coming in at the perfect time here. I see what you did here. You wanted to come in after the 38 cast was announced, so that everybody still was looking at you while they were looking at their 38 stuff as well.
That's exactly it. Go ahead.
And we tweeted about you like 30 seconds before the cast was announced.
I'm like, yeah, they're definitely going to be tuned in. But if I could be serious for a second, well, I was dealing with a lot during finale time. Some of the fans know, but I breed Siberian Huskies as a side hustle. And I actually had a husky that was pregnant at the time. And she had an unsuccessful pregnancy like a week before the finale. So I was dealing with all of that and, mourning and all of that stuff. So, and then, of course, the show takes a lot out of you and not winning the $1 million. So, I just had to get back into the swing of life. And now I think I am 100% better and ready to go.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad. That's a shame that happened then, but I'm glad to hear that you're better and everything's going well now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now we're almost a month removed, or not quite, I guess. Well, no, we're over a month removed. What am I talking about? We're like a month and a half removed from the finale. So now, like, how has that been? You're getting back into like the swing of like regular life after. I mean, I know we'll get into what happened with you pregame because it was just like crazy. Jeff said it on the finale, like you were just thrown in right like at the last second. But how's that been? Getting adjusted back to just like social media dating.
Social media dating. It's been pretty cool. And when we do start talking about the pregame, I'll talk about how I left my job and all of that stuff. So it's not 100% me just getting back to what was before the game because like I had my job before the game and I don't have my job now. But as far as day to day goes, I'm trying to, make the most of this 15 minutes of fame, do some other things, social media is my thing. So try to hone in on my social media stuff, maybe jump into a YouTube channel. I'm hoping to get into some voice acting. So, I'm trying to do what it does.
Voice acting. I like it.
Yeah, I would love to get voice acting.
I got a lot of response. And that's always been something that I wanted to do when I was a toddler. The first career goal I wanted to be was a cartoonist. And it's almost like full circle now. I have the opportunity, so maybe I'll go with that. But I have some other opportunities that we can talk about later when we talk about the pregame that's coming on. I mean, well, my old pregame, yeah.
Your old pregame. Well, I mean, we might as well just go there because, what better place to start than at the beginning. So from what I understand, and at least what Jeff said, is that there was a last second person who was removed. Were you already on the island as a alternative or were you still like at home?
Okay. All right, so it's a bit of a long story. Do we have time?
We have plenty of time.
It's
we have as much time as you want.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so I was told that I would become an alternate maybe about in February. This is the anniversary of me being told that I'm an alternate. So my spirits were down, I remember, of course, my phone is not on vibrate. Sorry about that. So my I don't know what you call him, not my recruiter, because I wasn't a recruiter, but the guy that I was speaking with, he told me that I was going to be an alternate, and he started the conversation off by talking about The Walking Dead, and I'm like, okay, he's already making small talk, he's about to tell me no. But he doesn't tell me no, he tells me that I'm going to be an alternate, which in my eyes is basically a no, you know? And automatically I'm thinking, what other guy do they have out there that's more entertaining than Davie Armstrong Rickenbacker? They must have a freaking professional athlete out there, and that's the only or they're doing a returnee season, like a captain season like 38. So, I sat on that for a while, but I never, just gave up praying. I never gave up training. I don't think I told anyone except for maybe my best friend that they had told me no, or told me that I was an alternate. I couldn't even tell my mother because I didn't want to break her heart. It wouldn't have broken her heart, but she just would have been like, yeah, she would have gave me, what moms do, and I really just didn't want to hear that. So I didn't tell my mom, and you guys heard me say that in the finale. I didn't tell her, and she just was like, Davie, I'm pretty sure they're going to call you this day. I'm pretty sure they're going to call you this day. And I'm thinking, Mother, they're not going to call me. They've already told me no.
They're making small talk with me, Mom.
Right. So I remember I was in my living room. Guys, I thought I cut my phone on vibrate. Give me a second. I'm sorry. This is so unprofessional.
We are the pinnacle of unprofessional. You are great.
Okay, great. But I feel like my mother's watching this now. Now that I posted that link on Facebook, I feel like she is. And she's going to talk about me. Okay. All right. So where was I? So I was in my living room, and I don't know. I may have kind of been falling into a bit of a depression. You want something so bad, and you think you're going to have it, and then you're told no. I mean, it's like, what do you do? And so I'm just sitting there staring up at the ceiling. I believe it was about maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I'm getting a phone call from a freaking California number. And I'm thinking, okay, this is definitely people trying to collect funds for my schooling. It's got to be them. I should just ignore it. But I decided not to ignore it. And I actually answered the call, and it's Lynn Spillman. And she's like, hey, Davie. And I'm like, what? Because first of all, I didn't think that she liked me. I thought she was the reason that I didn't make it. And she's like, so she starts with this. She's like, so I don't know if you're going to make season 38, but as if to say, you better say yes to season 37. Which I was going to say yes anyway. And she was like, if you had to get on a plane tomorrow, it was either tomorrow or the next day, would you to be on Survivor? And I'm like, I didn't even think about it. It was just involuntary. I was like, hell yes.
Oh my God.
And then she hung up on me.
Get the
So I'm like, right. So I'm like, oh my gosh, was I too eager? Did I mess this up already? Was that my one shot at competing in Survivor? And then so maybe about 10 minutes later, she calls me back, and the most cliche 3 words, Davie, pack your bags.
Oh my God.
That's 4 words, but you know. So I had to, I actually had just gotten a promotion at work. I was working for the Center for Disease Control here in Atlanta. You guys have heard of the CDC, right?
Very much.
Yeah, so I have, right. So I have my master's in public health. And in public health, it's like the pinnacle of your career status is working at the CDC. So that was like my dream job. I was working I had got promoted to a new division, which was global health. I was already going to be traveling the world. But,
amazing.
It was like, and I had only been there for 3 months, but like I said, I'm a strong believer. I'm real strong with my faith, and I'm like, Davie, this is your dream. There's not many opportunities that you're gonna have like this, and a job will be here. You have very supportive parents who will be able to take care of, your finances while you're gone. You don't have any kids. You only got Rufio, which my mother watched Rufio while I was gone, and she's allergic to him. So that just goes to show how great my... Exactly. And so I said, hey man, you just gotta go for it. Oh, and I tell you guys this one funny thing. You know how we all tell our friends quick lies about where we're gonna be. So because I was in global health, I was able to tell my friends that I was going to, and where did I tell them I was going? I told them I was going, okay, so my initiative, I was working on eradicating polio. And polio is still prevalent in Syria. So I was like, oh, great. I'll tell them I'm going to Syria. So I tell them, I tell my friends I'm going to Syria, and Donald Trump bombs the place. So my parents are getting phone calls left and right.
Oh my God.
Is Davie okay? Is Davie okay?
Oh my God.
Dumbest excuse I could have ever,
But
they handled it.
Telling people you're not dead. Like, wow. Oh my God. That's the best story I've heard. Yeah. That's insane.
That's insane.
So yeah, man, but
wow. Well, happy to see you're still here.
Yeah. Okay, so then now the last part of the story is last week I did the podcast with Rob and I told him I wasn't working and everything. The next day, the CDC calls me and they want me to come back.
Same position?
Same position, a higher pay grade. I don't know, like, I'm getting chills just talking about it because I just have to give God thanks. And I mean, of course, I accepted it. I just have to make sure I go through the background check and all of that stuff, which let's all pray that works. I hope they don't, look at my background check and see me killing octopus over in Fiji. And they're like, oh, we can't have this guy. But that just goes to show you, man, you follow your dreams, you keep the faith, and God's going to find a way.
Dude, that is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
And I think like that's the thing that's so crazy about this is like so many people they get into this routine of work, and you finally get your dream job and everything's just working out so well. But like playing Survivor is one of those things 500 people have played. And like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for just those 500 people. Yeah. Like very rarely, and I mean, even when you talk to these people who are playing again on Edge of Extinction, like if you talk to any of them, they're going to tell you like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I got to do twice or 3 times, and like how do you say no matter really where you're at? I mean, it's the reason. Yeah. What's his name? David Sampson goes and plays. He's the president of the Miami Marlins. He never has to play Survivor, but like when are you ever going to get that chance again? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful.
So you're flying out tomorrow or 2 days from now. What do? You can't prep.
Well, like I said, I kept training. I kept watching Survivor because they did tell me I was an alternate. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I have I'm thinking that means no, but I'm still, there's 1% of me that's like, okay, maybe they could call for 38. So it was like, I didn't really have to prepare for game wise. But as far as getting out there, I didn't have the luxury that the other contestants had of going and shopping for clothes that they could have out there on the island. So that's why I didn't have a jacket. I don't know why Angelina didn't have one, but that's why I didn't have one. And so I just threw as many vacation type shirts that I had in the bag. I threw in, they told me what color I needed to be focusing on. I think they told me red, yellow, or orange, which are my 3 favorite colors. And I had all of that, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is meant to be. You have everything." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys should have just chose me from the beginning." But I understand.
And so it's crazy too, because from what I've heard, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but from what I've heard most of the time is that once you're an alternate, like you're an alternate, and it's very hard to even get back to being considered again, because like that's pretty much like that was your season, like that. Yeah. And I know that there's been people who've been alternates before who they never hear from Survivor again. Were you worried that was going to happen to you, or like had you heard of that before, or what were you?
Thinking? 100%. I was thinking, that that was my chance, and if if they don't select me for 37, then I'm not going to be selected. I mean, I have a chance for being selected for 38, but if it's not this go around, then I mean, it's just not going to happen. I guess I was fortunate. I can't speak on the guy that left too much, but I can just say that his head probably wasn't in it. I did reach out to him, and I thanked him for not for dropping out, but following his heart, and exactly giving me the opportunity to do this. And it's just I mean, I'm a firm believer in the cliche. Everything, it happens for a reason, and I'm just happy that I'm here now.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're doing all the fun stuff, and
right.
I mean, so what was your? I think you kind of got into a little bit, but like, what was your mom's reaction when she hears like you got this call, you're flying out tomorrow or in 2 days, whatever it was? What was your mom's reaction to all this?
So my mother is a recent fan of Survivor. I did become a fan of Survivor because of her ex-employee, who was Joanne from what was that? Survivor Amazon, I want to say.
I know. Yeah, that's Amazon. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she was. She maybe watched 1 or 2 episodes, but as of late, I told her, Mom, you got to start watching this show. You're gonna love it. And so she's just that positive person that if her kids are excited about something, she's gonna be just as excited. You saw her when she came out there. That's her 100%. And she was just screaming all throughout the house. My dad is like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And my dad is he's a little more practical. He's like, "Well, really, you're gonna quit your good government paying job to go be on TV?"
Yeah.
Which now post game, he was the one that was the most annoying. Going in public restaurants. Hey, my son was on Survivor. You guys watch Survivor? So. Yeah, my parents were thrilled. My brothers were thrilled. My family is just great. We were all supportive, and yeah, man, that's who I was playing for out there. Those guys.
I gotta say, Davey, as you explained that, I was getting like flashes to my own family, because that's exactly what my mom and dad dynamic would have been. Alexa's met both my parents, and she knows for a fact my dad would be the guy laying on the couch watching TV, going, "Are you seriously going to give up your job for that?" You know how hard it was to tell him I was going back to grad school and not sticking like he like lost his mind.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
I mean, that must have been so cool for your mom, though, to get to go out there. She looked amped from like what we saw. I bet she was over.
This was her first time out of the country.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got my mother
That's
her
a
first
jump.
trip out of the country. Yeah.
So
I told my brothers, you guys eat it, okay? I don't have to get her Mother's Day gifts or birthday presents for her now. You guys. No.
I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. So then when you get out there, and I don't know if this actually had anything to do with it because we don't have it now, but did you get out there in time for all the pregame press and everything, or was it like too late and that's why it was released so late last year? And you don't have to answer that if you can't.
You know what? I don't think I'm the reason. God, I hope I'm not the reason. But no, I got there a day and a half before the game started. So they were already there at Ponderosa for I don't know how long, but yeah, I didn't get to Ponderosa first. I got on set where they were doing the press first, and I show up and I see Gabby, I see Nick. They were both at my finals, so I recognized them. And then I walk into the tent and I sit next to Carl, and he's just nodding his head, and I'm like, "Why are you nodding?" So I get up and move. I move from him because I'm like, okay, you got to think game. You don't already want to sit by the only other black guy you see right here. You want to. So I went to bed. And I found out later that Carl was nodding his head because in First One Out, they all showed my picture and nobody knew who I was. So when I sat next to him, he was like, "Bing!" That's it.
There it is. Great reference.
I love it. That's so funny. Yeah, because I could imagine. I think we heard about that. I didn't really watch the First One Out, but I can imagine getting out there and you recognize all 18 other people, and then all of a sudden here comes his face. Who is that? like, what is it? You're thinking, okay, so there's a guy living on an island alone who's probably great at everything. And he's gonna, a tribe of one.
Right.
Oh my God, that's crazy. So you get out there and you find out that it's David versus Goliath on the boat and everything like that. I mean, what are you like? What were you pumped about that, or were you not pumped about? Like, what was your feeling on it being David versus Goliath?
I was pumped. I really thought it was heaven sent. I mean, my name is Davie, guys. My parents did name me after, my parents did name me after my grandfather, whose name was Davie too. But, they would always throw in little side comments growing up that you're named after King David. You've got to follow in his footsteps. We're believers, so of course we follow the stories. And when Jeff said, when they dropped the banner and it just came down, I turned around and I just got chills because it just hit me. I'm like, yes, I am a David. I was the kid, maybe maybe in high school a little bit, but more so in middle school, the kid that was picked on for. I wasn't a blur back then. I was just a nerd back then because we didn't have cool hashtags like we do now.
What a world we live in.
Right. I was that weirdo, who I wasn't always picked on, but I just didn't really have a crowd that I worked with. I'm the middle child out of 3 boys, so I always felt like my older brother, he was a star athlete. My younger brother was a star academic, and I've kind of just always been somewhere in the middle. Also, when I graduated from college with my bachelor's degree, I went through a phase of unemployment with the what is it called, a depression, and I couldn't get a job and all of that. So me rising from that and getting a job with the Center for Disease Control in public health, that's like the definition of a David, enduring and then coming back stronger. So yeah, 100% I thought that theme was meant to be.
and unfortunately you just had Nick there who also felt it was meant to be, and he ends up being him who wins in the family in the first one out. It's like, damn, why did he have to be there, right?
Right. No. I'm happy the way that things went. That's my butt.
Yeah, exactly. So okay. I mean, Alexa,
Yeah, well, actually, no. That Nick reminded me. Did you and Nick click immediately when you guys were on that David Beach, or did it take a little bit? Because we didn't see your relationship for a while. They hid your amazing nickname from us for unfortunate television reasons. Tell us about how your relationship with Nick developed.
So I just grabbed this cane. Okay, so first of all, let me talk about the cane. When I was up twirling, for the distraction, This is what I was doing. My fraternity is Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and we step with canes. So I know how to twirl and all of that stuff. So why am I telling you this? I am a Kappa. Nick is a Kappa. We are not the same fraternity, but he's in an organization that's, I don't want to quote it wrong, but the first word is Kappa. So we were both Kappas. We clicked off of that. We clicked after the fact that we were both in the same age range. So yeah, we kind of just clicked, and that was one of the things that was most frustrating for me watching back. And I used to always be like, Nick, like, what is going on? Why aren't they showing me in your relationship? Is it because they're catering to a specific audience and I'm a black man and you and Christian are both white men? Is that why? Is it because you had relationships with other people? Is that right? Is that why? So I was frustrated. Every episode I was getting my fair share of screen time, so I wasn't too annoyed with that. But the relationships I built out there with Nick and with Christian and even Carl, they only showed me talking with Carl maybe the first day. I built relationships. Kara, I built relationships with Kara. I built relationships with Gabby. I'm like, wow, I really thought I would be shown more. But I got it towards the end of, towards post-merge, because maybe they were building up so much the Mason-Dixon line to see them break apart. And maybe that was just best for the story. But those are things that played on my insecurities while watching. Like, is it because the audience is a predominantly white audience that they're not showing my relationships as much?
And what I think ends up happening, and you fall into that unfortunate spot where you're the first boot in the finale. And it's that unfortunate spot where really Jay is the only one who got a really good edit in that position, where we saw all of his relationships. But that was also because Will and Sunday had nothing, and they were the ones who went before him. Whereas who goes right before you? It's Christian and Gabby, who were one of the biggest focal points of the entire season. Yeah. So like, it sucks because like by the time we're starting to hear these, everything that's going on with your story, it's like, why are we getting this so late in the game? I wanted to get this earlier, but you fall after Christian, who, I mean, as soon as he walked onto the island, like my mom's texting me, "Oh my God, look at him!" And I'm like, "Would you chill with this, Mom? Like, would you calm down?" Yeah. Every time she sees somebody who even remotely looks like Cochran, I think she like starts crying and it's like a puppy. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But you bring up such a good point, Davie, because everyone loves you. Like you were like one of the fan favorites of this season, and so not seeing a relationship with Nick was confusing because then when you go out, you say what you do to the group, and everyone's like, "Wait a second, maybe he's pissed at Nick." And we don't really learn why until after the game that you did that to kind of inspire Nick.
Yeah. I did that to inspire him, but I also wasn't 100% sure that he didn't have anything to do with it. When they voted me out and Nick said, "I didn't know, bro," there was a hint of sarcasm in my voice where I was like, "Of course you didn't, Nick."
Whatever, Nick.
Yeah. Baby, when you're watching that live, it wasn't a hint. It wasn't just a little hint. It was blatant.
But when I stood in front of them, I could see it in his face that, oh no, it was 100%. Not even 100% Mike, because I feel like Kara doesn't get enough praise for her move in that situation, Angelina either. But yeah, I was able to see that Nick didn't have anything to do with it. So yeah.
Yeah. And so day one, you're out there, and this is what I thought going into the season. I said we all knew you were kind of a late addition. Like I think it was pretty known at that point that you were a late addition. And so I thought he's going to be in trouble because this is what happened with Candace and John back in Blood versus Water.
Oh, really?
They came in late. Nobody knew anything about them when they were hanging out at the pregame Ponderosa. So that's why Candace was the first person who was like sent to Redemption Island. It was because they all said, "We don't know enough about you." So I thought that was going to happen to you, where nobody knew who this guy was. They had, everybody's doing their looks. It's just like, who's this outlier? Yeah. So who were you able to connect with? And you touched on Nick, but who were you really able to connect with right away to make you feel like, all right, I'm like in this game for the long run?
Yeah. So, oh God, I am getting a phone call. Can you hear that?
No, we can't.
Okay, I'm gonna decline.
You can take it if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to chat, like we're around.
Oh God!
Was it Carl calling you? Because I know he only calls.
Oh yeah, Carl's a big caller.
Carl better not call me. Is he on this thread right now? Please
no,
say
he's not. I gotta send him the link.
Yeah.
Don't send him the link. Don't send him. No. Just he can
text us and he'll be like, "Who's live right now?"
Right. Oh God! Please let him watch it later because he'll go in the comments and he'll debunk everything that I'm saying. But anyway,
Carl's the only one.
Glad this is built on honesty.
So, of course, at Ponderosa, when we first get there, we're not supposed to, talk. But we're able to make little connections with people. And, I'm Devilish Davie. Of course, I'm not going to abide by the rules 100%. Getting off the boat from Depressed Island to Ponderosa, I would sit and help the girls off the boat. And I'd whisper in Gabby's ear, "I'm happy to see you there," because, she was at my finals casting. She probably didn't even recognize who the hell I was. But I think little things like that, me and Carl did make eye contact and we just gave each other slow nods, just because we're both black men. I tried to do that with Natalie and Jeremy, but they wouldn't even look my way.
They could tell you were David, it was like
they could sense it.
Right. Who else? I actually said a few words to Allison here and there. But yeah, for the most part, just because Nick and Gabby were at my finals, we had something that we had in common, and Carl being a black man, we had something we had in common. So I knew I would be okay once I got out on that island.
Yeah, and so it's interesting though that you say that all of that, and then Gabby and Nick didn't vote with you the first vote, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So we know that the whole Pat thing went down, but what was your take on all this? The only person we've talked to on the podcast who was there for the Pat Medevac was Carl, and he doesn't remember it for the most part. So like, what was your take on that? Who would have gone home that night, and what was it like when you watched Jessica go walking out of the game when you thought it was supposed to be somebody else?
Right. Okay, this is another long story. All right, so
that's what we're here for.
Let me tell you about this young man, this older man named Carl Boudreaux. When we first got out there on that island, Carl says to me, we say to each other, and you see that clip of me and talking, we're here, but we're not here, because we didn't want to be, two black guys that had too much in common and have a target on our back. But I asked him, who do you like? And he was like, I like Jessica, and I like that guy, Nick. I'm like, okay, cool. I like Nick. Jessica's pretty cool. Right. So I'm in the woods. I forget what I'm doing. I'm not looking for an idol or something. Maybe I'm looking for palm fronds. And I see people off in the distance. I think it was maybe Carl, Pat, Gabby, Jessica, and some others. And they're congregating. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not involved in this. What the hell's going on? So I walk back to camp so that Carl is able to see me, and he comes over to me immediately. Gabby's looking in the distance at him coming over to me and seeing me. And he's like, so you know what the plan is, right? We're voting Nick. I'm like, Carl, what? So immediately I went into defense mode. I'm like, what are you talking about? You told me that we could trust Nick. And because you told me that, me and Nick have been searching for idols together. You're going to blow up my whole game. Right. And so immediately Carl's like, oh man, we may need to do a plan B. So I had already ended that with him. I would have been able to influence the rest of them to, make sure that Nick was safe. If anything, I would think that Pat would have been the one in trouble along with Larissa. You saw in the episode that me and Carl were talking about how Pat was rubbing people the wrong way. Me and Gabby had a discussion about Pat rubbing people the wrong way. Me and Nick was gonna vote anybody who wasn't in his who was other than him. And I even said to Nick, I pulled him aside and I was like, yeah, people. I didn't tell him that people are gunning for him because, first few days of Survivor that could get back and I could be the first one out. But I was like, dude, you need to start pulling your weight a little more around camp. And immediately he starts pulling his weight a little more around camp. So I think that 100 and I spoke about Gabby looking in the distance. So Gabby was looking in the distance at Carl, immediately telling me. And in her mind, she's like, okay, I can't trust Carl from here on out because he came and told Davie immediately. Gabby had already seen that me and Nick were so close. And she's like, okay. And that's why, Gabby, she says that, even Carl may have been in jeopardy. But I would have been able to save him too. But yeah, so.
Gabby really never forgave Carl then after that much, did she? She never really trusted him again.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that maybe that was the moment that
that's crazy that it happens that early.
Yeah. But Gabby also did pull me aside, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't want Nick either." So she was already covering her own ass, like they tried to rope her in with that, which is smart. So then we go to that first tribal. The plan, I think, is clear: is that we're going to vote Larissa out. And then Larissa doesn't go home. We haven't talked about this much, but I had a very close bond with Christian as well. The fact that we were both nerds, we would always be talking about video games together. We had this cool line and another line that I was really frustrated that did not make the show. And I was like, hey, Christian, I'll be your Jeremy if you'll have my fish back.
Oh, I like it.
I like that. I really like that.
I'm surprised they didn't show that.
Well, they wanted to focus on, Nick and Christian's relationship so much. I'm sure if I would have won, they would have shown it.
we had to get the golden line of Christian or Gabby saying, "Do you want to play with me?" Oh, in the sand. We had to have that. It had to be there. So you can only have one absolutely absurd line per episode. But I like that. You know what it is? Here's the problem. If you're on like a half returning, half newbie season, that line makes it like no problem. It's like on the all newbie seasons, how much are they going to push the other players, which that's like an unfortunate thing because I mean anytime somebody says Russell or Parvati, they always get that always makes the screen, but it's a shame that Jeremy and Fishback don't make it. And I wish I would have heard you say that before the thing, because then I would have said your last name right. Because back. But,
yeah, right. We got to come up with like a weird Parvati pun, but it's not coming to me.
Yeah. But I like that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where were we? We were talking about my relationship with Christian. So I spoke about that because, Christian and Nick were the guys that I would talk the most strategy with. Not to say I didn't talk strategy with Carl, but that first episode was a prime example of why I had to kind of not nurture him, but kind of see the way that he was playing. Mm-hmm. So I later found out that he was a fan of the show, but was essentially still a recruit. And, recruits play a little bit differently than the fans do. So Nick and Christian being fans and them being my closest allies already, I'm trusting in them. And then we go to that first tribal council and they don't vote my way. And you saw a snippet of it, but I wasn't pissed, but I was just a little perturbed that you guys are my top guys. And I kind of almost, they haven't said this to me, but I kind of almost want to say that Jessica suffered from kind of the same reasons that Gonzalez went home, was that she's an attractive female. The other guys on the tribe have girlfriends. They didn't really want someone there that,
wow.
Sassing, So, I feel like it was definitely going to be Jessica or Larissa, but in the end, Jessica going to the merge and being able to flip-flop with the Goliath men, who are built like Greek gods, and she's being a, cute girl. I think that's something that played into it as well. So that's not the excuse they gave me. The excuse they gave me, of course, was Gabby. And I bought that excuse because, of course, I thought they were my close allies. And I even told Christian, and Gabby had a moment together. And after Gabby walked away, I was like, I don't trust her. Can you stay close with her? and he was like, oh, yeah, sure. little did I know that. Right. So Nick said, he was bamboozled by her, and Christian threw her under the bus too, which he knew that he had to keep that relationship with me moving forward. And so, I didn't fault them too much. And I got some advice from a past player before the game. I won't say who, but they told me that if you get blindsided, just don't take it harsh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because the game is fluid, it's going to keep going, and you're just going to have to find a way to bounce back. And I don't think I was in jeopardy. And, did I have my idol at that point? I can't remember. But, yeah, I thought I was good. So yeah.
And it's interesting because sometimes it doesn't even have an effect. I mean, we saw Adam Klein be out of the first boot, and he goes on to win the game, and Zeke was out of that first boot, and he's played a second time. So it's funny how there's such a big deal made of that first boot, but when it is sort of split, it never seems to affect the really likable people in the group. And I will say that pretty much for the most part, everybody who was on the wrong side of it was still really likable. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like there was somebody that was an obvious next or something like that. But what was it like when you came back? You said, like, don't be too mad, but were you like on the defensive? Like what's going on? Like, am I going to be next? Or
No. I wasn't, I don't want to sound cocky, but I wasn't worried or anything. I just was worried about, if I could trust these guys moving forward. And, them throwing Gabby under the bus, 100% made me feel like I could trust them moving forward. So I didn't think too much of it.
That's good. Yeah.
And then even afterwards, until you go home, like, your name doesn't pop up too much, which I remember Phil and I both talked about. Like, you're especially like early merge, like, we saw you so much and we were afraid you were going to pop up and you never did. It was great.
Yeah. Except for the merge episode when I didn't pop up at all.
Yeah, what was that? Huh?
Can I speak about that real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
I love
That's how we all knew you weren't going to win.
Your purple watch party I saw you at a watch party and you had like a purple jacket or something. That was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, you like that? I'm all for the theatrics. Anyway, so that was a shocker to me because me and Nick found that advantage the day of the merge. And I'm telling all my friends and family, oh, you guys are going to love this episode. And they don't even show me finding the freaking clue to the advantage. I'm like, what the heck are they doing? So I guess it made sense once I watched the next episode. Maybe they just wanted to build up momentum so that the next episode was so much more grand packed. But yeah, it sucked to see me purple. I was like, oh well. So of course I just decided to play into it. I'll be purple Davie. I got a purple jacket. I wore it to that episode so I could take that off. I'm like, they gotta show me blindsiding John. There's no way they can hide that. So I guess it worked out. But yeah, that sucked, man. To freaking have 0 screen time at the merge. What the hell?
And it always blows my mind when you see some of the people who don't get screen time in an episode, especially as big as the merge, like you, and then I'm sure you met Brett LaBelle at the finale. How does that guy not get the most screen time on that season? He's so loud, and then there was 3 or 4 episodes pre-merge where he had nothing. So it's always funny to see how the edit will leave off huge characters out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was I don't know. Yeah, it was weird though.
Yeah, but I will say, and we're kind of getting ahead, but it doesn't matter. We can just jump all over the place if you want. But I will say that episode where you did play the idol, and John goes home, right? That was the episode where you played the idol and John went home?
Yes.
What made you want to play the idol? Because we see so often the people just be really selfish about it. I'm going to hold on to my idol for as long as I can until it's me or him, and then I'll give it to them. Or I'll give it to myself, one or the other. What made you so confident in your alliance and so confident that you guys could switch the numbers to play it so early at Final 12?
I'm going to tell you 100%. It wasn't that me and Christian were friends. It wasn't that I had intel from Nick. It was Kara. Kara was the reason that I knew I would be safe. I knew that Carl would be safe, and I knew that they were targeting Christian. So of course Nick got intel from the Goliaths that he was working with, and you see that moment in the hammock where I didn't even tell Nick really at that. It was a little foggy, but I didn't tell Nick immediately when he told me he had that information. I thought about it for a while. I went to Christian, just to see how he felt about how he was he being targeted or something? And he was like, yeah. So I did end up telling Christian that I had an idol before I ended up telling Nick. And so I'm like, okay, dude, well, this idol is for me and it's for you. We've been sticking together from Vuku. I'll play it for you. But I'm a little unsure. So I went, and I remember we were all around the campfire. It was daylight, but we were all around the campfire, and I was just looking at the sky. My poker face was horrible at this point. I was looking at the sky, and I remember the cameramen all pointing their cameras at me, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Yeah. They're about to blow up my spot. Oh my God. And then I look to my right, and Kara's looking at me, and she can tell that I'm worried. Of course she can tell. She's my closest Goliath ally. So she comes over, and she's like, okay, Davie, I know you're worried, but I'll say this. It won't be you, and it won't be Carl. And immediately that hits the bing in my head, and I'm like, okay, yeah. It's 100% Christian. Mm-hmm. So that was what, made me feel so confident to where I knew I could play that idol and I would still be around that night.
Yeah, and not even just being around that night, but you're kind of giving up a little bit of protection moving forward because now you no longer have that idol in your pocket. Yeah. Were you worried at all that, maybe next time now you've put a target on your back? That's what I thought when I was watching. I was like, wow, Davie just made that move. That's epic. I love it. Yeah. Go Davie. But is that going to kill him in the next 1 or 2 weeks?
Well, see, the thing is, if you sat there, you saw us thinking it. I don't know if you guys watched the behind-the-scenes confessionals that we have, but I explained it really well on one of those, and I was like, it was really a numbers game at that point. There really just didn't seem like another move to be made, because if we used to steal a vote, that's just a tie. But if I played the idol, then we at least have a fighting chance of keeping those Davids in the game. If not, then they could just pick us off one by one by one by one. So yeah, I was worried, but I felt like the bonds that I had with Kara and even with Angelina a little, could take me the long haul, and it got me to the finale, and then they screwed me. But it did. I do think that the relationships that I built with them are what kept my name from coming up so early in the merge.
Yeah, and there's so much to talk about because we still have to go back to when there were 3 tribes. But
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Angelina, because you want to talk about somebody else whose relationships weren't shown. She was just shown as an instigator and a pest pretty much the entire season. But you're now the second person. Carl also said he really likes Angelina. What was your relationship like with Angelina, and what did we not get to see any of?
Me and Angelina, off the bat, we saw that we were like minds as far as the world without the game. We discussed politics a little bit. She's a minority, I'm a minority. So yeah, we bonded on that level. She was the person that, of course, she's the rice queen. She was the person that always was making, not just always talking about her getting the rice, but she was literally, coming and giving us rice at camp here and there when the rice is ready. She's a bit of a mother. It was genuine to me, but I could see that her relationships with the others could have come off not as genuine as our relationships were. Yeah, she could have been a little pandering to them. And I'm not really sure why that is. I'm sure it could have a little bit to do with what she says about women being in power, and if there was a man doing certain things that she was doing, it would be perceived differently. But yeah, all in all, I felt like Angelina was a good person to have as an ally. Me and Carl both did see that, she was more dedicated to us at one point than she was to Goliath. So yeah, Angelina 100% was just a cool person to be around, and she's definitely my sister now.
So 2 really quick things. 1, Carl is in the chat. 2, he's here. So just so you know, Davie.
Carl, don't bother those people in that comment section. You let them watch, okay?
I don't know them.
They always do. Anytime another Survivor pops up, it's always.
She said, quote, "I'm not a drunk. A grown man who drinks beer. Hello, guys."
No, you were drunker than me.
But the other thing I was going to say is you had probably the best burn ever on Angelina. And that was you, right? I mean, that was
yeah, and I think that was a human moment of, her being my friend in the game. And I even said this to her. I was like, I wish you wouldn't have used the rice as the reason for me to choose you for the reward. Yeah, me and Kara were really close, but had you just been the genuine person that I know, that I met at Merge, maybe I would have considered picking you. Maybe I would consider giving my reward up so all 3 of you, and I wouldn't have done that. But
don't be ridiculous.
But yeah, that was a dig. That was my human emotion, just being like, come on, man. The whole point of a selfless act is to be selfless about it.
Yeah. Which you said at Final Tribal. We were at the finale, and actually.
Oh my god, it was so awkward. It was so awkward because we were all backstage, getting ready to walk on, and we were watching on this real small TV, and then you hear the crowd roaring when I said that.
Oh god, it was brutal because the night before,
we kept talking about.
Yeah, the night before I had met Angelina's parents, who are wonderful people, and they were saying, they were like, it's the edit, it wasn't her, yeah, this is her out there, and there were moments where like, oh, Angelina, but they were great, and it's so awkward when you're sitting there, and I knew exactly where her parents were sitting because we had a perfect angle of that's Angelina's mom and dad, and when everybody in the crowd is just losing their mind when people are like throwing like I don't even know how.
Oh yeah, you guys were right there. Yeah, you heard it.
We're right there, and I'm sitting there watching it, and like finally got to the point where like her parents clapped really loud at one point because it was like somebody has to cheer for Angelina, and it was like nobody would. Like nobody would, and that one burn that you had, man, I will tell you, like that was just the entire crowd went nuts. I was just like, oh my god, this is awkward because I know her parents are right.
I couldn't stop thinking about
Love
that,
you, Angelina.
Yeah. During the whole, I know this is now we're going on a whole thing, but during the like Mike, Angelina, Allison fake idol thing, I am like, are the three of them sitting next to each other in this green room? Like that must be so awkward in that room. I mean, you would know, but we were like, this must be uncomfortable.
You know what? I was actually pretty choked up still, so I kind of had I had to I went to the room, and I gotta speak about how great a person John is. I went to our rooms, and I was like boohoo crying because I didn't want them to see me cry, and we had joint rooms, and I guess John heard me, and he came in there and he just said some really great words to me, and I felt better, and then I went back out. But he's freaking, oh my god, you would think he's a douche. Coming into that, we thought he was a freaking douche, but John is just such an amazing person, man. So great. But anyway, back to what were we talking about?
No, that's fine. We're talking about the finale. It's always good whenever you can do that because we had the same. As soon as I see John Mundo is going to be on this season, I'm going, the hell out of here. Like, why is that going to happen? You know what I mean? Like, we've seen this before. Like, Jeff Kent was mean to everybody, and I loved him, but he was mean to everyone. Like, Cliff was really liked, but Cliff goes pre-merge. But when I saw John, as soon as John starts talking, I'm like, I love this guy. This guy's amazing. And, you know, he obviously had no idea who the hell me and Alexa were, but he took a picture with us, and he was like, I was like, damn, like, he was a really nice guy, too. Like, he just talks to us. Like, he doesn't care. He talks to everything.
Yeah. And that speaks to the competitor that he is, and the reason that I had no qualms about getting him out, because I knew that he would respect the gameplay, and if I was fortunate enough to make it to that final three, I think I would have had a fighting chance at getting his vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing we can obviously talk about is how who you would have wanted to go to the end with and how you think you would have fared. I also want to get your take on if Kara wins the immunity, if she wins the fire making challenge, how you think that would have gone for her in the final three. But go ahead. How do you think that would have gone?
Well, I know that if Nick is there, it wouldn't have been great for her. I know that Nick was horrified of her getting there, which is why he chose her to do the fire making challenge. Kara wouldn't have gotten my vote, of course, because she screwed me. Even though I respected her gameplay, she maybe could have gotten Dan's vote. I didn't know how bad of a situation that was until after the game. She maybe could have garnered a few votes, but I still think that Nick, had the best tribal council speech. But then again, I do have to say that Kara was flawless at tribal when it comes to her speaking. Now, she didn't get a lot of screen time with her talking at tribal, but I remember walking to her after one tribal and just saying, oh my gosh, how do you do this? Have you done pageants before? You speak so eloquent. Like, oh my gosh, like, teach me. And she told me that Christian actually gave her a tip, and he was just like, whenever you're stuck, just relate it to your profession, and it'll come out pretty great.
Yeah.
So, I think...
Good advice.
Yeah, I think Kara, she would have did okay. She may have gotten a few votes, but... I don't think she would have beaten Nick. Mm-hmm. Now, had she been in the final three with Mike, Angelina, and Angelina, I think Kara could have gotten it.
Yeah, because I see that everybody always hates the fire making challenge now in the community because it's like, oh, why does that happen? But I think this is the first time it really didn't have much of an impact on the game because I didn't think Kara. Yeah, she everybody keeps saying she didn't get a single vote and she doesn't make the final three, but like. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win when you get to the final three. There's situations where that happens, but
right.
Well, I think we got to go all the way back to when you actually first met Kara, like when you actually first were on an island with Kara. I think we got to go there because this is really when your game picked up heavily. Like this was the first great move of maybe this season was you being able to swing Alec to your side to get rid of Natalia. And maybe you want to walk us through what that was like when you're looking at your tribe and you're going, damn, we're down 3-2. They know that Carl's coming in if we lose. So there's no reason to let the numbers become 3-2 the other way. what was that whole situation like with Alec, and what was it like with Elizabeth, who you weren't necessarily very close with going into that?
Yeah. Well, actually, I gotta correct you. Me and Elizabeth were pretty close. You didn't really see it on screen, but we both bonded over our religions, and we were both genuine people, and we knew that. The only thing was Carl was the common denominator between us two, and Carl didn't really care for Elizabeth too much, but he cared for me quite a bit. I was already like a little brother to him at that point. Going into the Vuku swap, I'm already thinking, wow, okay, we are fucked. Everyone, sorry, mother.
No, just let it roll.
You're not going to break Troy's and or Carl's records. Just go wild.
Okay, great. I'm thinking, wow, we literally have the majority in every tribe? Are you doing this to us, Survivor Gods? Okay, great. But I'm not too worried because I do have an idol. And I do think that I can sell to the Goliaths that Carl and Elizabeth are like oil and water and they just ain't gonna mix. But that could have been my game error, actually, because Alec told me when I said that, he was like, well, if they're like oil and water, then let's just get Carl back in here, get rid of Davie, and if we lose again, we can get rid of Carl or Elizabeth. So thank God. So I kind of have to thank Natalia and Kara a lot for that. Just going to them and selling to them that Elizabeth is such a threat and she's got kids, and if she makes it to the end, they're gonna vote for her, blah blah blah. And I think that was the only episode that I was able to be devilish Davie 100%, because it was just fun for me, being in Alec's ear and seeing when Natalia came and woke us up. He was pissed. Like, we had a whole scene. Like, he was like, why the heck does she have to talk to Davie like that? Blah, blah, blah. And Natalia wasn't even talking to me like that. The only reason she was talking that way is because Elizabeth was coming. So I got it 100%, but Alec didn't. And I was like, oh, let's just let this ride and see what happens. So I saw how pissed he was. And that hammock scene, he came to me. I wasn't in the hammock and going to him. I was in the hammock just thinking, and he came to me and just sat next to me, and I took that opportunity. I'm like, hey man, do you trust these girls? They could do an all-girl alliance and get rid of both of us. And he just was like, you saw that pause. He was like, no. So I was like, bing. Little did I know, and I can't take full credit though, because little did I know, Elizabeth was over there working her best magic too. Like, we were a great team, and that's why I say me and Elizabeth, we there was a scene where we were like, we're probably gonna have to throw each other under the bus at this tribal, and we both cried and we hugged and we was like, hey, well, we gotta do what we gotta do. And I kind of feel a little bad because I think I laid into her a little more than she did to me on that tribal.
We didn't see anything too obscene, but behind the scenes stuff would have been cool.
Oh my God. Remind me whenever we start. Well, actually, I guess I can segue into that after that. I want to talk about the whole bed situation. But anyway, so that's the way that went. So I guess I will go ahead and segue. We're kind of just talking about Vuku right now, right?
Yeah, anything that happened there, because we talked to Kara and Alec both.
That's right. I do need to speak about me and Kara's relationship a little bit.
Yeah, so we did get to hear a little bit about it, but it's good to hear all the points of view, and they were on the dominant side of that alliance. They were in the majority, so it's cool to hear from the person who made it happen, so whatever you want to talk about, just roll with it. Anything that happened on Vuku, we're ready.
Yeah. Oh my God, that tribal was so fun with him. Alec turned to me and winked about 80 times. You only saw it about once, and at one point he was like, Natalia. I was like, okay, dude, but relax. So yeah, me and Alec, we bonded that first day because we both went to go catch crabs. I'm an explorer before anything. When I found that idol, I wasn't looking for the idol. I was just exploring, and he was my buddy for exploring. Like on the David Beach, I couldn't get any of those guys to come. I couldn't get Carl's lazy ass to get up and come catch crabs with me. Okay. Carl is the only person that caught 2 fish on our tribe. I'll give him that. So yeah, me and Alec bonded that way. Me and Kara. So Kara's 30. Well, I believe she's 31 now. I'm 31. Me and Kara are the same age. We both went through a rocky relationship right before coming on Survivor. Oh my gosh, I can't tell stories without going back to other stories. But anyway, before I went on Survivor, my ex-girlfriend broke up with me. And she broke up with me because of Survivor. She said that I was dedicating my life to training for Survivor and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, if you're a supportive girlfriend, aren't you going to be there for me? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I had put her as my family visit. And my mother debunked that because they ended up calling my mom. They were like, is this girl going to... No, excuse me. I put Rufio as my first for the family visit. She was number 2. And, of course, they weren't going to choose Rufio. And they called my mom. They were like, is he still with this girl? And she's like, no. Anyway. All right. So back to me and Kara. So, yeah, she had just gotten out of she had just been engaged, I believe, and got out of a rocky relationship with that. And we just would have these nights where we would she would push me in the hammock and we would just talk about everyday life, We wouldn't talk about the game at all. I mean, at that point, and we said that we would have each other's back if it came to it at the merge. And she did have my back to a certain extent until we got to that end, which I guess I have to give her credit for. So yeah, me and Kara is like my sister. Most recently, she actually made sure, and I think this was her apology to me. She made sure that my 31st birthday was the best birthday I ever had. I flew out to San Diego where my best friend lives, and just so happens that Kara lives there too, and she had a section for me. She took me out to see seals. We did roller coaster rides. So yeah, Kara's she's like my number 1 gal. So yeah.
And I don't know if you did you see her and Alec bought me a pizza for my birthday?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that was on the Kara tell-all because Alec's grandma had taken a piece of pizza out of my hand.
Oh, Grandma Joan!
Grandma Joan. I love everybody knows it's Grandma Joan. So yeah, she had taken a piece of pizza out of my hand on finale night, and so Alec actually organized. I don't know. Alec, Alexa, Kara, and my sister organized it so that a pizza would be delivered to me. It's actually on our Instagram. If you find it on Instagram,
wow. Wait, where did she take pizza from you at?
We were at
2 a.m. outside of the second
dark
bar.
room. Yeah, it was the bar.
Oh, back with the heating lamps and the TVs. Okay.
It was actually the bar next to that. We went to a bar next to that.
Really creepy bar. There weren't many people there.
Yeah, and she just ripped a piece of pizza out of my hand. So I don't know.
Wow.
But
I love her.
It was amazing, and then they bought me that, so I thought that was hilarious. So yeah, Alexa, I don't know what's going on. You sound like you're like 4 miles away.
Can you still not hear me?
No, lift your microphone up like really close.
I'm gonna refill my wine.
Ooh,
okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay,
am I better?
You're better. Yeah, I don't know why though. You sound so quiet all of a sudden. You were sounding great, and then it just went away.
How about now?
Talk again.
Talking again.
Yeah, that's better, but now you're like echoing. I don't know why.
Give me a second.
No, that's good. You're good now.
Oh, good. I'm good.
Keep microphone as close to the face as possible.
Yeah.
It just for some reason it was great, and then all of a sudden you just like disappeared. But yeah, so Kara, she's fantastic. Kara's fantastic. Her and Alec, the problem is the community's never been more wrong about 2 people than they were about Alec and Kara.
I feel like we're the biggest proponent of like hashtag bring back Alec. Like you was really big on that.
I kind of started that. Like I was a secret spy on the Discord channel. Do you guys know about Discord?
I know about it, but I'm not really part of it.
So I throughout the season, myself and a few other fans a few other of my castmates who I won't say, we were in that Discord channel and we used to just talk shit about ourselves and and like lead the conversation. because like we're trolls. Like
Yeah.
me and like we love trolling. And so one time I was just like unban Alec, and it just stuck. And yeah, that tore us up, man. Even when we got to the buses when we were at the finale and we were doing the infographics for Instagram, they gave me the phone and I was like, everybody say unban Alec on 3, and they was like, no, we can't do that.
Oh my god.
That's humor.
but yeah, they're just, oh my gosh. And you see them you see them together. I think I said in the group chat, I'm so freaking angry that Kara and Alec got to play the game and find their soulmates. When am I gonna find my soulmate?
Yeah.
Let me play Survivor again so I can find my soulmate. Jeez.
It's true. I mean, they're just like, it's amazing because they're just such a different, like Alec, and I apologize, Davey, but Alec was my favorite one on this season. I was watching.
No
Davey, you were my
needed.
favorite. For one
Dude, let me just tell you, my cousin's birthday was last week. She texts, I know how much she loves Alec. I text Alec and I was like, can you just tell her happy birthday? He sends like a whole 50-minute video to her, and it was a little too much, Alec, but you know, he's just that type of guy that he'll just do it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's just a really cool dude. And unfortunately, all that stuff happened. And I was one of the biggest people. We do our bootless game, and I was like, Kara and Alec are 20 and 19. They ain't going any further than that. And, you know, we were so wrong because all of a sudden I'm like, wait, why do I like both of them so much? But it's crazy how at Vuku, they didn't even really start. There was no connection there. It didn't happen until way later. And so that's what I thought was going to happen. And somehow Natalia would go, and then it would be Alec and then Kara. But let me ask you, since you were probably in more of the power position, and we haven't talked about the bed yet, but who would have gone next once Carl joined your tribe? Like, who would you have tried to gun for?
Oh my God, it would have been so hard. But it wouldn't have been hard. It would have been hard convincing Carl. But it would have had to be Alec. We knew how much of a challenge BC was. We knew that once he got to the merge that he would be a force to be reckoned with. I know that Elizabeth probably would have gone for Kara, but I would have been able to convince her that Alec was the bigger threat. I don't talk too much about Carl being a recruit, but recruits do kind of see the game a little differently. Like, you know, they play more with their emotions than the game at hand. Like, I would have been able to, I would have had to convince Carl that even though Elizabeth is annoying, she loses chickens, if you saw the secret scene, she starts projects and doesn't finish those projects, which is something that would just bug Carl. She's a know-it-all, which is something that would bug Carl. Even though she's so annoying, we still need to keep her because right now we're already at a numbers disadvantage between Tiva, Vuku, and Jabini. So I would have been able to convince him of that. Elizabeth even approached us about throwing that challenge. And I saw Carl's reaction to it. And when I saw how he was like, oh, hell no, I was like, oh, yeah, let's not do that. But had it been someone else, maybe I would have considered the idea of throwing the challenge to get Alec out because he was a force to be reckoned with. You saw him.
Yeah, and that's why that's such a dangerous move for him. And I will say that what made David vs Goliath so good was that everybody, you know, you made your move with John, he made that move. Yeah. There was moves all throughout the game where people were making these moves where they could have been the next person voted out, you know. And I think that's what made Alec's move so crazy is I'm sitting there watching, I'm going, he just screwed himself. Like, now they're down 3-2. Now they know he's a huge threat. He's one of the biggest physical threats out there. There's only going to be 2 more tribals till emerge, if that.
I know what it was. Alec didn't have a chance to play as a Goliath, and he was hungry to play. He got to Vuku, and he was ready to throw down. I think that was he was a kid in a candy store. He just really wanted to play, and that's why when you saw once we got to the merge, me and Alec didn't talk at all. Because Alec just wanted to play. He didn't care about really, you know, building those bonds and stuff like that. He wanted to be a force to be reckoned with. And so, yeah, 100%, I think he would have had to been the next one to go.
Yeah, so I guess...
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Alexa, talk.
We've got headphone issues here. Are you good, Davey?
I'm good. So you guys want to segue into the bed situation?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go it.
I think we've forgotten to ask everybody else, and we've talked to almost everybody. We've talked to 4 of the 5 people from that.
You know, I think I gave a small explanation about it on Twitter because a lot of women were, like going at me and Carl and Alec for not helping them. But the first thing I did when I came back from my walk was jump right in and help Elizabeth and Kara with splitting those beds. Okay, so Elizabeth, she had a child, I want to say maybe 3 months before going on Survivor. And so, of course, she had back pains at night. And we were considerate of the fact that she was having those back pains. And we had agreed that we would try to fix the bed. However, we do these walks, and walks are when we go when we do confessionals. So I wasn't there for the discussion, and Carl was asleep. So I guess Elizabeth took it upon herself to go ahead and start another project by herself without asking the group for any suggestions. So we get back and I'm like, okay, the sun is going down. This is not a full day project. This is not a half day project, guys. It's a full day project. So that sequence was not 1 day. It was 2 days. And that night, we had the worst sleep of our life that time in Fiji. Alec even fell through the bed at night.
Oh my
No
God.
way.
Yeah, it was that bad. And I remember us saying, oh, we're not going through this tomorrow night. And so we had a challenge that next day, and those challenges take a long time, like between setup with production and getting us back and us being in the stormy weather, going through the waves and all of that stuff. So we end up getting back, and it's the same exact amount of time to finishing the bed. So we wanted to kill a chicken this day. Because we wanted to eat, and Kara is squeamish. So Kara, she goes down to the beach, and Elizabeth goes to console her. And they're down there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I'm like, okay, well, where the hell are they? We need to get them back up here so we can finish this bed. And so they never come back, and I take it upon myself to go ahead and start finishing the bed. Not finishing it, but just putting it back the way that it was so we can have a nice night's sleep. Then you see Elizabeth coming, and she jumps. Her face just changes, and you see her throwing Carl into the fire and all of this and all of that. And I'm like, and then I said, okay, Elizabeth, we have enough bamboo. And she said to me, okay, well, what do you need next, sir? In a very condescending tone. And I was like, oh, there's an issue. I was like, okay, is there an issue? And then you see us going back and forth. And Kara was great. She mediated that situation, and she was like, well, can we just do it this way? Do half the bed your way so your back's not bad, and half the other way? And Elizabeth didn't even want that, because I think Elizabeth just wanted us to see that it's a better idea for the whole bed to be this way, and we sleep so much better. But yeah, that was that whole situation. It wasn't 1 day. The men were not trying to help. We
So
just
where
were
did
being
the
a little more
bed net
practical.
out? Where did we net out with the bed?
You know what? I think we ended up just putting it back. We couldn't put it back the way that it was because Pat was the expert. So we kind of just had to rig it as
Pat.
Yeah, right. Gosh, you ride a boat and break your back. Jeez. So we kind of just had to rig it and pray to marriage. Yeah, but I slept in the hammock a lot, so.
Yeah. So did that, Elizabeth only lasted, I think it was one more tribal council after that. Did that, I hear myself echoing, I'm sorry. Did that, stifle your relationship afterwards?
No. Me and Elizabeth made up immediately. We said our apologies, and we were back on good terms. But of course, her and Carl were just not on great terms at all. And before I even know it, Carl, if you're still on this chat, Carl tells Alec about Elizabeth's idea to throw the next challenge.
Ooh.
So, and I remember Carl telling me after he told Alec, he was like, "That's probably the best thing I could have done, huh?" I was like, "No, Carl, you kind of just screwed us a little bit." But so yeah, that went into merge. Those ill feelings that Alec had for Elizabeth, Kara had for Elizabeth. Once we got to the merge, Carl had already spread it to Dan and Angelina that Elizabeth, we wanted her out. So yeah, 100%. Carl is the reason Elizabeth went home that first merge. Yeah.
Well, and it was funny to see Carl like at that merge episode telling everybody like he's a snake, Alec's a snake, Alec's the one who did it. Like it was funny to see all of that happening because you wouldn't have expected that. Like like it was, you knew he wanted Elizabeth out more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, then again, he had some alcohol in the system, and you see Carl when he has that alcohol in his system.
Okay, now I got a segue. Let's talk about that amazing reward. You, Carl, Kara, and Mike. What didn't we say? We saw you drop a cooler.
First of all, I did watch a little bit of Carl's tell-all, and no, Carl, I wasn't drunker than you. You were definitely drunker than me. They may not have portrayed you. They may have portrayed you to be a little more drunk than you were, but you weren't. I was not drunker than you. Anyway. So, yeah, man, we win this great reward, and we go, and we've got fried chicken for the two black guys in the game. And Carl is just, they were, of course, Karen and Mike are talking Final Four deals, and I'm like, okay, this is what happens on every reward. We're not going to fall into that. But I think Carl being a little inebriated, he kind of did fall into it a little bit to where he thought he could trust those two a little more. And I do take a little bit of the blame for telling Carl that he could trust Kara because, Kara was my closest Goliath ally. So I would always tell Nick and I would always tell Carl, no, Kara's good. We can trust her. But that Kara, she's a siren, I tell you. And so Carl, he starts telling them the plan. And by this point, what am I going to do? Tell him, stop, Carl, stop. But I did tell him that he shouldn't have done this and he shouldn't be playing the game so hard at this point because they're going to see you as a threat. And in that scene, when we come back from the reward and Carl is telling Angelina and telling everybody and telling Christian, how we're going to vote, Christian even says it. If the cameraman had zoomed in on my face, oh my gosh, I was literally on the other side of Carl while no one was looking, and I was like, stop, what are you doing? Cut it out, you're playing too hard, stop. And Krishna gets a good laugh out of that from here on out. So, but I like to blame myself a lot, but sometimes things are my fault. Like, I kind of have to take the blame for Carl going home a bit because I feel like I should have been able to mediate between him and Gabby to get them back on the same page. And I think that it's my fault because I ended up telling Carl about my idol. I shouldn't have told Carl about my idol because when we got back from Tribal, Carl tells everybody, why we did what we did. And Gabby then realizes that she is at the bottom of our alliance. Mm-hmm. Had I not told Carl that, then Gabby would have seen that we didn't tell Carl, and we only really needed me, Christian, and Nick's vote. So why tell anyone else? I think that me telling Carl was the spark for the fire that ended up, destroying the Davids one by one.
Ruining them.
It really did. It really did, because at that point, then it was just like, all right, like, 9 was Carl, 8 was Gabby, 7 was Christian, 6 was you. It was crazy how it just went boom, 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 right down the line. Yeah.
If I don't like to say regrets, but if there was a regret, I probably would have handled that a little differently. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I spoke. I don't want to. I'm sure you guys have some of the same viewers as Rob has a podcast. It's like this thing called black guilt, where there's already so many negative portrayals of black people on television, to where I didn't want that to be me and Carl. I wanted us to be able to be a unit and look out for each other and, have each other's back. Because little did I know, on the other side, at the Goliath tribe, it was not happening at all. you saw, right, quite the opposite, which I kind of appreciate because it was two sides to the coin. But I wanted my side to be the positive side, and I wanted to have Carl's back. He wanted to have mine, and we even talked about that. And me telling him about that idol was a little bit of black guilt. Like, if I don't tell him that, is Black America going to be like, well, you didn't even tell your homeboy. So, and that's something that, it's a social experiment. That's something that we struggle with, those things out there. So I appreciate it. It's a good way to tell it.
And something that I see you posting this on Instagram and Twitter all the time. You said going on to the show, none of your friends really watched it. Do you think you got anyone to convert? Is anyone a fan now?
I'm about to find out. I've been trying to word this great post for my Facebook about how all of my friends who said I'm only watching because of you. Well, no, if you're only watching because of me, then I went out there for no reason. You've got to watch because they need black viewership in order for us to continue to get selected for these shows. Mm-hmm. And I think I think I instilled that in them, I've got this Walking Dead group chat, and all of my Walking Dead friends are now fans of Survivor, and this is a blurred Walking Dead group chat. So they've gone back and watched certain seasons. I told them what seasons to watch. So if I can use them as an example, then hey, maybe my college friends, maybe my hometown friends. I mean, my family definitely is. So yeah, I think I'm gonna pass the torch. I actually watched a little bit of Julia's interview, and I saw her talking about some of the same things that I was talking about with her ET interview with Arissa. And it's not gonna happen overnight. It's a marathon. It's not a race. So I think that, all in all, you look a few years now from this and the viewership will change and you'll be able to tell because of how casting works. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think even if you look at the Edge of Extinction cast, which I'm sure you see, Keith on this season, he looks like he's probably going to kind of fit into that a little bit. Isn't he? Yeah. Like, he's the pre-med student. He's really young. But like his hobbies, writing and performing my poetry, playing video games and board games. Like it seems like we're getting a little bit more of that side of things rather than, I don't know. Like I don't know, but I will say, I wanted to say this too before, and I just punched my microphone. But I wanted to say this before. You and Carl were definitely the positive thing. And I think the love that both of you have received afterwards has been like astounding. Like and Carl gave me a hard time because I called him the villain on the season while I was doing the podcast. And he was like, my wife listens to this, but like I do think that Carl's in the chat right now. Everybody always loves when Carl pops up in the chats. Everybody loves when Carl does anything, and everybody loves when you appear on anything. So I think that you were definitely like very positive, and I think you definitely like accomplished what you set out to, if that's what you were accomplishing. And now hopefully people will watch the show, or at least keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. I'm trying to think.
You brought up the blurred comments, and that was like, especially pre-merge, like that was like the best confessional we got. And I was telling one of my coworkers who loves Survivor that we were talking to you tonight, and he wants to know, as I'm sure everybody does, what constitutes being a blurred? Like that, like give us you made this word, give us your definition.
So actually, I did not make the word. The word has been in the black community for years. There's actually even a blurred con that they have in DC every year. And that's people amazing. Go and cosplay. And I can segue into this. Go ahead.
No, I was going to call it out. I was going to ask you what you were rooting for Best Picture this year. That's what I was about to ask. Because that's the Black Panther necklace, right?
Yeah. So this is the Black Panther. So it's Black History Month. Happy Black History Month, everyone. And so there's this thing called 28 Days of Black Cosplay. And if you'll search that hashtag, you'll see so many blurs. And right next to that hashtag is the hashtag blurred. So like blurs have been around for a while, and I guess I would define a blurred as not even just being a nerd, but having a little swagger with it, like, I guess African Americans are, have the stereotype of having a little swag here and there. A blurred, you can't really define how a blurred acts. You can be nerdy, you can be swaggy. You guys see how I dress. I'm a good dresser, but you see me walk into a building, you wouldn't think that I'm a nerd. You wouldn't think that I'm into Pokemon. I'm into Walking Dead the way that I am. I really want to show you guys my weapons collection, but
do it. I would say, have you watched The Walking Dead? That was the show I never.
I don't watch. I watched like a little bit of the first. I watched a little bit of the first season, and I just never. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So I just never really got into it, but I love that. My uncle is obsessed with it. Like he goes to all of those things. He goes to the Philadelphia con that they have like that.
Walker Stalker con. That's actually what that sign says right here.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. Is this like your man cave? Is this what room we're in right now?
This is called the Kill Floor. It's actually a Walking Dead reference. I don't tell any of the girls that come over here that.
Yeah.
But this is but this is my 40-year-old version man cave. Yeah, I've got some Survivor memorabilia over there. I've got just nerd stuff here. And my mother came here recently and she was like, don't you want to fold those shirts up? I'm like, Mother, that's going to take the gore away from my walking there. So this is my cave. Yes.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
Yep. So in a sense, that's a blurred. You cannot define a blurred. A blurred must define itself.
There you go.
I like that.
Now, here's one last thing I will ask. Does a blurred have to dunk and break a challenge? Like,
who told you about that?
I'm just saying.
We know people.
Okay, I thought it was maybe Carla or Kara.
I just know that a challenge is broken.
Yeah, we're gonna
by
find
Davie
the
Rickenbacker.
fifth on who pulled up.
Oh my gosh, that was my moment because I'm not a sportsy guy at all. Like they'll even tell you like that's part of the blurredism. You must be your own self.
I love that. I thought it was so funny. I think the way they edited it, and I could tell the moment when it happened once I knew, but the way they edited it was like, yeah, sure, we'll just cut over here, and it was like, dude, he was hanging on that thing. Like, there was no way.
And that was for my friends. I was like, eat it, man. Yeah. And when they saw that confessional about me saying I am an athlete, they all ragged on me because I missed the first one. Of course.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I don't know what you're allowed to say, but how long did it take them to fix that?
I know I stayed in the water, so it wasn't too long. Yeah. Jeff was like, they're very fair about everything. Jeff was like, everyone stay where you are. We're going to fix it. And they fixed it, and then we just jump back into it.
25 minutes later, you're still treading water. Like, please let me go stand up there.
There was a ladder. I was holding on to
it. That's good. That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was such a funny moment, too, because it had been played up. You had been talking about all of this for so long, and then that moment was like... and then another thing that we didn't really talk about, but was you said that you slayed the mayor of Slamtown. I thought that confessional might have been the moment when really most of the fan base was like, all right, like Davie is the man. Like that's when people started really to fall in love with Davie. It was even after some of this other stuff had happened, but that confessional was just so like in the moment. Didn't seem planned, just seemed like it was just coming at you.
That's the thing, dude. I talked about it in one confessional that my other dream was to live in an apocalypse, and I kind of felt like Survivor. I kind of felt like my Survivor was. I'm a Walking Dead fan. Like I kind of felt like Survivor was me living so many dreams in one, and I was just having a great time out there. I was playing the game, of course. But the game is fun. And I don't really even like to call it a game because I prefer to call it a social experiment. But it's fun. And that was a testament of me just having fun out there. And I was thinking about just wrestling with John's jacket. It's gonna be cool. And I love the way they clipped to me being serious with the tribe about let's play hard. And then me slamming the jacket. It was great. That was an edit I like. But go ahead.
So that reminded me, and this is all post game, but you went to a WWE event. You were participated in a WWE event. Tell me what that was like. That must have been insane.
Oh, that was so great, man, that John asked us to come to. He didn't even ask us to come to that. We already wanted to go. Nick stays close to Nick stays close to Tennessee. I stay close to Tennessee. It was my fraternity's Founders Day, so I found an excuse to go down there, hang out with them. Nick and Grizel, Nick's girlfriend, came down, and yeah, so it was planned. Wrestling isn't real. sorry, John. And so I didn't know it was planned, but we did not know how it was going to happen. We knew that someone was going to get pushed, but we didn't know we didn't know whether it was going to be me or it was going to be Nick. And the wrestler Brian Cage, John knocks him out and he hits the rail, and he didn't hit Nick, but it looked like he hit Nick, and Nick threw his drink. And it ended up hitting Nick's girlfriend. And so Nick is yelling at him, and I just jump right in, yelling at him, and I see him turning around in slow motion. I'm like, oh shit, this is the moment. And he literally taps me, and that was my moment to just go all out, and that was all acting.
Well, it was good. Yeah. That was so funny, and it's so funny to watch, like, as huge Survivor fans, because like we know who you are, and I'm sure there's people there who have no idea who you are.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Like, it's funny to watch that happen, and like now I want to go back and like watch old episodes of like Raw or SmackDown, or even like all the way back to Nitro, and see like, do I recognize any of these people? Like, did they ever did they ever become anything? Those people in the stands, or zone, or
wow, I didn't think about that. Maybe. I didn't think about that, but you made me think about something with John. John invited me to San Diego Comic-Con whenever that is, and so we're gonna cosplay together. But anyway, that's
awesome. That's in what? I think that's in June. I think
June. Yep.
I think it's in June. Yeah, I've actually never gone to that, and I only live like 2.5 hours.
It's on my bucket list, man. Come on.
I know. I gotta do it at some point, but that'll be really cool. So is John like a big nerd too, who like is gonna go and like
John we had so many nerds on our season. Like Dan is so into comics. John actually cosplays and videos with like Bat in the Sun, which is one of my favorite YouTubers. You got Christian, you got Gabby, you got Nick, who's a big Survivor nerd. Yeah, we had so many nerds, and you had Angelina, who calls herself a nerd for just being very smart. I think that was like underlying theme, like nerds. This is a nerdy season. Survivor nerds.
Well, and if you really do think about it, most of the Survivor fan base is nerdier. Alexa and I sit here and talk about this all the time, and it's like what you said. Like, you can walk into a place and people aren't going to say, "Wow, Davey's a nerd." When I tell people that I do a Survivor podcast, they are like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, but like,
no reaction.
It's a complete like obsession that a lot of people have, and most of the fans are the people who like they see that necklace you're wearing, like, that's Black Panther, like immediately, like it's just like instant. And I think that's why David vs Goliath worked too, is because it was more relatable in that sense, and I think that's why John was so popular, is because he wasn't just the big wrestler guy. It was like, there's a softer side to him. Like, what's going on?
I love it, man. Yeah, I'm so happy with the way our season turned out.
That's always great when that happens, because that's like a big worry. We talked to Wendell and Dom and all that, and they're always bummed. They're like, oh, like Wendell said to us on this podcast, like, it sucks, like that. Like it's kind of considered like a weaker season. Like, that sucks. They had the great ending moment, but it just, I don't know. It's weird.
And then I'm going to watch this season and I'm going to be like, oh man, I could have won that season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, let me ask you that then. How long would you have stayed on Extinction Island?
I would have had oh my God. I don't know what the actual twist is, like, all the way through, because, I mean, of course I've talked to some people, but I haven't talked to them. Why is Carl texting me?
Shut him down.
But, If it's like they put everybody on the island and you're forcing people to get off of your island, that's where Devilish Davie would have had a blast. I would have been going Jatia, throwing rice in the fire, everything. No. But no, I think it would have been pretty fun. Pretty fun to have, play with returnees and all of that. But yeah, as far as how far I would fare out, I don't know. I'm just thankful that I was on David vs Goliath.
Yeah, because we were talking about it right before. right before we went live with you, we were talking about Edge of Extinction. We were finally doing our cast assessment, and you know, it was hard to say like, how's this person going to do, because now it's a completely different show, because you can get voted off and go to Extinction Island. It was more of how long would you stay on that island, and like, was there anybody that you played with? And this is a completely random question, but is there anybody that you played with that you think if they were voted off first and they had the chance to just sit on Extinction Island for like 36 days, 37 days and just get back in at Final Five, do you think that there's anybody you played with who would have done that?
Oh, yeah. Natalia. Definitely, yeah. Natalia 100% would have stayed her ass out there, because she was a big fan, and I hate that, you know, I wasn't able to bond with her as much as I did, because, I mean, hey, I had that opportunity. But yeah, Natalia would have been great with that. I know I would have been great with that, even though I went out on day 36. I don't know how that twist works. Who else? Maybe John. Yeah, maybe John. John wouldn't let his fans down. He would have been out there. Elizabeth's a big fan of Survivor. She would have wanted to stay out there. So yeah. I mean, I want to say all of the cast, but you know, you never know until you're there.
It's always like one of those, because I'm looking at it now, and Joe Anglim's going to be on this season, and I look at it. It's like, if Joe Anglim gets voted off, like, he's a pretty strong dude who can survive on his own. Like, why wouldn't he stay there for 36 days? So I was just wondering if you had like a crazy person on your season. But when you said Natalia, I was like, yeah, I could see her. And she had that whole like revenge on her mind.
Oh yeah.
that burns in you very strong. that would be burning. No, that's cool. I like that. I mean, so I mean, since we did the cast assessment, is there anybody that you looked at already that you're like, I gotta root for them? Like, have you checked it out at all?
So I haven't really checked out anything other than just glancing about, you know, seeing their pictures and seeing where they're from. I really want to root for. I'm from South Carolina, if you guys didn't know, and I really want to root for the guy that's from South Carolina, because you don't have a lot of South Carolinians on Survivor. I think he's from Myrtle Beach.
What's his name?
Chris. That was Alexa's winner pick, and I said Chris he's so obvious. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Greenville.
Okay, yeah. So I want him to do well. I haven't done any research. Of course, Julia, I don't think she minds me telling you this, but she came last weekend to Atlanta, and actually got to meet her because, you know, Ron Clark lives here in Atlanta too. And we hung out for a bit, and, you know, I really want her to do well. I talked about me passing the baton and giving it to her, you know, telling the story of African Americans. I saw her talking in EW or ET news about, you know, young black girls that are going to look at her and maybe she's here for a higher purpose. So I'm rooting for her. I'm also rooting for Keith. I'm not sure how well he's gonna do, but I am rooting. I am rooting for him. You know, he seems like a blurred in a sense, Christian guy. Ron Clark, I'm definitely rooting for him. You know, he does so much great work here in Atlanta. Oh my God, have you guys checked out his school yet? Oh my God,
I checked out their site. It's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Like, his school provides me with some of my favorite gifts that I use in everyday life. Just those kids dancing and everything, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Gavin. I got to speak about Gavin. Gavin's really cool. I really like that dude. You know, he would message me during our season and just tell me, you know, how inspired he was and how much fun that he saw that I was having, and he hopes that he hopes that it's portrayed that he has the same amount of fun. So I'm rooting for him. As far as returnees are concerned, I'm rooting for David. You know, us being fellow DAVIs and us being, you know, fellow nerds. I want David to do well. I'd love to see Aubrey and Kelly do well too. I know Joe's gonna do well, so I don't really have to. But out of the four, I hope that David, you know, does really well.
Yeah, David's like one of the funniest guys too. Like he's like what you see on TV, man. Like when I've met him before in person, and like when you talk to him in person, he's exactly the same. Like he's so funny. He just like it all comes out. Yeah, he's great. So I'm really hoping he does well. But like I was saying, like, the one person who doesn't benefit from this twist is him, because like is he gonna go like live on that island alone for like 30
man,
days?
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
You know, like Joe would do it. I feel like Kelly would do it. And Aubrey would do it.
Yeah.
Poor David, like.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Well, I hope David does well.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. That's good. Hey, it's funny because they don't really do as many videos now. It was your cast. They really didn't do as many videos. It was really only ET Canada. And so we're just going based on pictures and where you're from, and it looks like you went mainly with people from like the southern region of America. Yeah. So there you go.
Down south.
Yeah, exactly. What else did we not get to with your season? Was there anything in here that we've completely blown over,
or anything that the show blew over? Anything that the show missed that was a really awesome moment or super funny?
There was this super funny moment back on the David tribe where it was me, B, Nick, and Elizabeth on the rafts, and we were fishing, and Elizabeth ended up snorkeling in the water for a while, and me, Nick, and B are just on the raft chilling, and we keep looking, and she gets further and further away, and we're like, she's such an idiot. Why is she swimming further and further away? And we keep saying that, and then 5 seconds later, we hit the pier, and we're like, oh, she's not swimming further away. We're drifting. So then we finally come to, right? She's up. She's screaming, guys, you're trying to kill me. I can't swim. Oh, my gosh. Production takes her, and they bring her a little bit closer to us.
What do they
just
do?
to make
shove her?
No. She held onto their raft. And then they brought her over, and then she's out there, and she's still not all the way here, and she doesn't have shoes on. She's just cussing up a storm, and we can do anything but laugh because it was our fault. But that was a really cool moment.
That's awesome.
Let's see. I did a lot of hermit crab killing that.
Wow.
Sorry, Peter. But we used to eat a lot. We used to eat a lot of hermit crab, and I had a signature dish where we would throw them in the pot with the rice, and I thought that was really cool. Just seeing me as an explorer, catching all of that stuff.
Hermit crab murdering,
octopus. I know. Oh my god.
Yeah, what was like catching an octopus? That must have been so cool.
Oh, it was so great. And I had this exuberant lie that I was going to tell my friends, I dove under 8 feet and it tried to wrestle with me. But no, literally, I prayed to God that please let me show my tribe that I am worthwhile and that I am an asset. Literally, I look down, there's a freaking octopus holding on to a rock.
Oh my God.
Fine.
But yeah, and I'm like, cheep, and he inks everywhere. It was amazing, man. I take him out of the water. He's inking. It was just so great. This is the top. I mean, I've had some great experiences in my life, and I know it sounds cliche from other survivors that you've talked to, but this is probably the most exciting experience that I've ever been on. And I'm just grateful to CBS, to the production company, grateful to the fans, grateful to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and grateful to my parents and my family for allowing me to get out here and live my dreams,
That's awesome.
Well, that was amazing.
That's amazing. That's a great sentence right there. I don't know what to say after that. You've left me speechless. Yeah. Well, and I think you're right though, because I think when you're as big of a fan as you are, you're watching it from day one. You're 31 now. You said so. You're watching it from the time you're to 12 years old. Something like that. I mean, that's the impact. That's like when we had Adam on. He's a year older than I am, and when we had him on, he was like, dude, that was that moment when Jeff comes out and says, "Welcome to Survivor Millennials vs Gen X." It was like, holy crap, this is happening right now. This is real. This isn't anything other than real. It's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Well, I don't know. I have to ask too, because I think Gabby had put it on Instagram at the finale when you were calling your barber. Was the CBS there not good enough?
I forgot about that.
It was not there's a specific way that you have to cut black people's hair and they had nothing but white barbers in there. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to FaceTime my barber. Actually, I just left the barbershop. Check me out. I did that just for you, Alexa. Check me out. Look at
that. You're looking good, Davey. I'll take that. Tell your barber Good job.
Oh man, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and that was another thing too. As you were saying that you did that for Alexa, I liked on finale night when you tweeted. I think what was it? I think I love Alexa, and everybody thought it was the Amazon Alexa, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And I think I was standing right next to you, and you sent that tweet. Like I had just talked to you.
I think you brought it up to me, Davey, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then the next day I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I screenshotted it, I printed it out, it's hanging up in my room. Greatest tweet of my entire life.
Look, man, like I watch you guys, and you guys were kind of like celebrities to me. Like, I mean, I used to watch your videos week to week, and so seeing Alexa in real life, I'm like, oh my God, she's hot, and she's right there.
Davey, I think you're hot too. However many people were listening, it's happening, guys.
Exactly.
I need to put out a cryptic tweet.
We need a ship name. Is Delexa okay?
I'll take it. I'll do it. Come with the Amazon Echo. People, give us the hashtags. We're doing it.
I just think it's so funny, like you just said, like, hey, like, you guys are like celebrities to me. And I think it's so funny whenever anybody says, like, I watch your show. And I'm like, I watched you for 13 weeks, like, and so did 9 million other people. We have like 1,000. Like, it's so crazy because, like, we're just doing it because we love the show. You know what I mean?
And Phil, don't take any offense to this, but I really thought you were going to be taller.
Yeah,
we get that a lot.
I always think I'm going to be taller. That's the problem, you know. I think the only male Survivor player I'm taller than is Ty.
Adam. Oh, okay, all right.
And Adam. I think me and Adam, like, if we stood back to back and we might be like the same height, I might be a little bit taller, but yeah, I don't have much going for me in terms of height. It doesn't help. And it was funny. I don't know if you saw the picture where, like, the Will, who I used to do the podcast with, there's a picture of, like, me, him, Natalie Tenorelli, and Jeff, and, like, everybody's towering over me. I just look like pathetic. And everybody's like, wow, Will's so tall. I'm like, or I'm just like 5'8".
Yeah. But that, Davey, I remember, well, this is one of the few things I remember from that Tuesday night. We were at that bar, and you looked at me, and you were waving at me, and I was like, Phil, he knows who I am. Like, this is amazing. Like, I was like, I'm geeking out so much, and he's like geeking out at me like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. I'm
saying, man, you guys are celebs, dude.
Well, that always makes me smile. I'm like, okay, like, sure.
Oh, stop.
I'm the short. Hey, you know what, man? Like Al Pacino's like 5'5", so maybe that's who I'm gonna be. Maybe that's
not even just that though. You guys are inspiration. Like I told you, I'm trying to figure out what type of content I want to use. I want to launch my own YouTube channel, so I'm gonna be texting you guys and emailing you for suggestions. Like right after I got off, is that?
That's
Sirens?
an ambulance. Yeah, it's.
That's Alexa. That's New York City.
Oh no, Pat. Okay,
it literally every 10 minutes. Anyways, keep going.
But yeah, I'm gonna be texting you guys for like recommendations on like Rob got to be good with this webcam. Like I love the way that you guys hold feng shui and all of this. So you guys are the experts. So you guys are the specialists.
Yeah, there you go.
I can tell you this is my headboard, and that's about it. We do not put much effort into this. We are here to help. We are here to help.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
also, Davey, our hashtag is blowing up in the chat.
Already?
Oh yeah. It's all over Instagram.
Cha-ching, bing. So my battery's getting low on my laptop. I can plug it back up if you guys want to continue.
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, we're almost at 2 hours, Davey. How's that feel?
Okay. Yeah. So you guys know it's Super Bowl weekend, and my friends are on the way over here because we're gonna go out tonight, but they're not here yet. So if you guys want to just chat, we can. But I do need to plug up the laptop.
Okay. All right. Plug it in real quick. There you go.
Okay.
I forgot the Super Bowl's in Atlanta. Oh, they're probably having like a whole thing.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't ever.
Oh God, Phil and I are not used to talking.
Will is texting me, so now I'm distracted. But don't worry, Davey's coming back. Also, I like the guy in here. What's his name? Mountain on a Hill. That's the first time I've ever seen him. But Davey taking his shot. LMAO.
You miss LMAO. Miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and he's swishing.
Yeah, exactly. Where'd he go? Here he is. All right.
Oh, good. He's not hearing us talk.
I think what's happening is we're hearing ourselves back through his headphones, and that's why you were quiet for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just shut up. I was like, I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to let it be.
So you guys can't see me, can you?
No, but your picture is awesome.
Thank you. That was like post game when I had that Survivor bot that I don't have anymore. But
Survivor bot.
So I had to.
Oh, go ahead.
So I had to unplug my webcam because there wasn't enough ports. But for some reason, the webcam on the computer. Oh, I have to go to settings, don't I?
Yeah, I think you have to do that. And then if you click it back to FaceTime or whatever it is, it's listed as that. Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you were just telling that you were going to come.
Right. Come on, guys.
Yeah, we are here to guide you.
I'll tell you this. Keep on texting Rob.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. There we are.
No, text us.
Yeah. Rob's got the bigger enterprise over there. So I met him for the first time at the finale too, and I
really?
Said and he was like, I think I accidentally told him he was my idol or something. He was like, he pulled the damn line of "in my pants," and I was just like,
oh my god.
It was like the idol in my pants. I don't think he knew what to say because it was just so uncomfortable. But yeah, there you go. But I know I forgot that the Super Bowl was in Atlanta, and then Alexa, but more importantly to Survivor related stuff. Big Tom is the only person to lose more weight than you. Is that what we got from that finale? That's insane.
Oh my god. Dr. Joe, he was like, yeah, I think you've lost the most weight of anyone that's ever been on Survivor other than Big Tom. That was one thing that that helped me not get hungry. I was pretty big. I wasn't fat, but I was pretty big. And every time I got hungry out there, I was like, yeah, Davie, you're losing weight. You're losing weight. Every time I go in front of production to do my confessionals, they're like, oh, wow, you're getting skinny. I'm like, yes.
Stop.
So, yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe the only way that I can lose this weight again is if they call me back for a second chance.
That's it.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what, with that Extinction Island or whatever, I mean, if you're out there and they're not giving you any food and you can't win a reward, you could lose. Right. You could break Big Tom's record, but then I don't know what would be left.
Right.
I mean, when they say he lost 80 pounds, how do you lose 80 pounds?
I don't know how that is even possible.
He lost Courtney Yates. That's what happened.
He must have weighed 250 pounds, 300 pounds.
He had to have been close to 300 because otherwise, he'd be dead. What would you... That's crazy. It's just insane. I don't even know.
Yeah, but that was awesome.
That was awesome. So I guess what you're saying is, Davie, you would play again. Is that what you're hinting at here?
So I would play again, but I would not play again right away. And my reason is a little mushy, but I feel like those players that had families out there, like Dan and Carl and Pat, Elizabeth, I feel like that burned in them and they were able to play a little harder. I feel like they were able to get a second win almost. I don't want to say that I gave up towards the end, but I feel like if I was out there playing for someone, of course I was playing for my family, but my immediate family, they were okay. I wasn't really playing for anyone other than Rufio. So
who they didn't let come visit.
So I feel like I wouldn't play again until I have met the love of my life or I have had some kids. Hopefully it happens in that order. But I feel like I need something that's going to give me a second win to go a little harder when it comes to day 36.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. I've never, no one's ever said their reasoning for it, so I think that's super legit.
I like that. What I like, too, is that your reasoning was there was a real reason there, not I wanted to sink in for another year and then I'll go back and play. I don't want to go crazy. Most people are just thinking about how game. You're like, no, I want to get a little bit more in order.
I mean, I want a different experience from it. I don't want to go out there and just, learn the same things because, that's not how change happens. I want to learn something new.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, do you have anything? I mean, we're pretty much at 2 hours, so we can just call it.
Yeah.
But do you have any like last words that you want to say here? Any grand wisdom? You've been pretty good throughout.
You've been.
Have I? Oh God. Okay, great. That means my mother's not gonna call him howl on me. Okay. No, I just want to say thank you to you guys for being the voice to the fans. This was actually very therapeutic. Of course, we have a therapist for the show who I used quite a bit, but that's another reason why I held off on doing the podcast, because I was like, is it really gonna help me? But these things actually really help us get our, especially for those of us who didn't get the screen time that we thought we should have had, telling those stories that the viewers didn't see. Thank you guys for being that outlet so that they do get to hear, the whole David versus Goliath experience.
Oh, you're welcome, and we're always happy. I mean, anybody we can get. I mean, like we'll say Sunday Burquest, one of the best interviews we've done, and who would have thought? Based on what was edited, and then you talk to her, and you're like, damn, like she got 8 confessionals all season, really? How? Right. So it's always good to hear what was going on, because everybody forgets. Like the fans forget that there are 20 very distinct stories, and I forget who always says it, but people always say, everybody thinks they're going to win and they're going to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to see.
You're always the hero of your own narrative. Yep.
That's the wisdom I wanted.
There you go. Well, we're definitely since Alexa's not really in baseball season and I'm not going to be too busy this year, we're definitely going to try to bring people on for some of our predictions podcasts or something. So we'll have to see if you can come back on for that.
I'm down for it, man. I need content for my social media channels. That's me.
We're here to help.
Yeah, and we need really entertaining people to come on here and help us out. So that's what we got.
Let's scratch each other's backs.
Awesome. Oh, and you guys like the elf me for Christmas with the Davids?
It was. You know what was so funny about that is So I used to work at this international sales company for movies, and my boss was 82 years old. And then the other lady that I worked with would always set up those types of greeting cards. And we had the exact same one with my 82-year-old boss as the Davie role. And it went out to people all over the world who didn't know what the hell was going on. It was like that doesn't really translate in German or Italian, so it was just bizarre. So when I saw it, back quite the memories.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I mean, why did that become a thing? Not yours. I'm saying why did that become something?
I don't know. The internet's evolving.
Oh my god! And Carl's face was it was too perfect.
Oh my,
amazing.
That was insane.
By the way, his text message said, "I didn't stay on there long. Just so you know, I'm at a bar now."
I love how your Carl voice is constantly pissed off. Just so you know, I'm having fun.
Oh god. But hey, thank you guys so much. I really have to go to the restroom.
Go to the bathroom, baby.
It's the wine.
Yeah, Alexa, take us home.
All right, I will take us home quickly. I did the whole spiel on our previous one. Davie, thank you so much for coming on. We had so much fun. Everyone, when Davie makes this new YouTube channel, give him a follow. In the meantime, follow hashtag 28 Days of Black Cosplay and hashtag Delexa.
Yeah, baby.
We'll be back next Wednesday. Davie, have a ton of fun with your friends. And everyone, it's Friday night. Stop listening to us and go out.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
See you guys. Thank you. Love you all.